What's up? What's up? What's going on, everybody? How are you doing out there this evening? My name is Lee Black, and I am the host of Real Talk for Real Men. And here on Real Talk on Wednesdays, we're going to have a great conversation of a little more serious nature. But for new viewers, in case you don't know where to find us, you can find me on YouTube and Facebook directly under Real Talk for Real Men, or you can go to TFG. This show is part of an umbrella of shows that's taking the internet and this platform by storm. TFG Uncut, TFG Ratchet. Look for Real Talk, but you're going to get a whole lot more if you go to TFG, because you're going to get the bevy of shows that are under that umbrella, and we got a little bit of something for everybody. But if this is your first time, strap in, because we're going to talk grown folk style, real talk, and we're under Uncut and Ratchet because there's no holds barred. We only have one rule here at Real Talk. We're going to agree to disagree without being disagreeable. So hopefully, enjoy the ride. I invite you to comment, share your thoughts, be honest, be real, be raw. And guess what? You're also welcome to come on the show. We don't run from anybody. I want all visitors. Let me bring in my co-host right off the bat, McMac, all the way from Memphis, Tennessee. What's going on, McMac?
Oh, not much, not much. Just trying to stay safe.
I understand. She's in Memphis, and they're dealing with some inclement weather. They dealt with it last week, and they got another bevy coming. So prayers out to you, sweetheart. Stay safe. I know you got a bevy of shit to drink, so do your thing. Do your thing. Absolutely. I got my brother from Texas, Mr. Kenny, in the house. What's going on, Brother Kenny?
What's good, Mr. Lee Black, my brother from another mother, and the beautiful one, Miss Tasha. How are you all doing this evening?
Fantastic, my brother. Fantastic.
Good.
How are you doing out there in the Big D?
Doing all right, man. Just another cloudy day, but it's all gravy. It's good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we got a new member of a part of the posse coming in today, right here in Atlanta, GA. We got Mr. Berto. What's going on, Mr. Berto?
Hey, I'm fine. How are you doing today? It's nice to meet everybody. How's everybody doing?
We are
good. What's up, Mr. Berto? Nice to meet you, brother.
And his wife peeking in, Miss Amia peeking in. She might be peeking in here and there. We are so blessed to have you too. So look, welcome. You're part of the family, and enjoy the ride. We invite you to be as blatantly honest as you want to be. That's what we're hoping for. This is a safe space, as you'll see. So I hope you guys truly enjoy it. Let me say hello to some of my people popping in as we wait on a couple of other family members. Sharita Lee, how you doing? Good to see you, sweetheart.
What's up, Sharita?
We got Miss Lisa G. Chambers. What's going on, Miss Lisa? How are you?
What's up, Miss Lisa?
And Miss Lisa says, I'm not a man, though. Appreciate that heads up, sweetheart. If you watched the last show, we were thrown a little bit for a loop. Absolutely.
Oh, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but another good girl, no doubt about it. And then we got the real estate insider popping in.
What's up, my brother? What's up, brother?
That's Mr. TFG himself on the space. And Miss Lisa says hello. Good to have you. Look, we're gonna have a spirited conversation, and while we wait on a couple of others to get in here, let me bring up the topic. So I want to get your minds to already start to percolating a little bit, so you can start to think about what we're going to be getting into tonight. The topic is the domesticated man. And I always try to give a little background onto how I came to this topic. I was having a conversation with my nephew, and we were talking about his relationship, marriages, and things of that nature. And I deal with some little health things here and there. And he asked me the question about what would I want a woman to do for me at this stage in my life? What value would she bring to me? And I made the comment that for me at this stage, it's probably more about companionship because all the normal things you think about a guy needing a woman to do for him, I pretty much do. And I did that even when I was in a relationship. So that's where I started thinking about how we're seeing more and more men do things that traditionally we used to seeing women do. So we're going to kind of get into this topic and talk about what the domesticated man looks like in 2023 and what the value is in that. Sharita says, so all this time we've been in TFG, y'all been saying my name wrong.
What is it's
Sharetta or
or
Sharita?
Sharita? I thought it was Sharetta.
Maybe give us the proper name, proper pronunciation. I don't want to get it wrong.
I don't either. Man,
And Miss Lisa says priorities do change when you're older, and that is certainly true. I know for me, and so she said it's called Retta. Sharetta.
Okay,
So it is
so it is
Sharetta.
Retta. Okay.
Walk around to the desk.
Okay, so I had a little bit of feedback.
Little white plug there.
Okay, so
Right
got a little
there.
feedback. Let's get into this, and hopefully we'll get us some family members to pop in because I got a lot of ground to cover. Just to be honest with you, and I want to go around and I want to ask you guys, what does it even mean to be a domesticated man? When you think about the word domesticated, what does that mean to you guys when you think about a domesticated man? Anybody?
He's already been trained. All the bad habits are taken care of already. I would say probably one that's been in a previous serious relationship and or marriage that has a lot of, good habits that were enforced by the woman that he is with or was with.
Ooh, okay. I like where you went. I like how you started out right from the beginning, and then you used one of those key phrases.
I didn't like the word enforced either. That was a little bit. Anyway, go ahead.
Trained and enforced. That's my sister from New York. What's going on, sis?
What's up, brother? Hi, everybody.
What's going on,
Hey,
Sherry?
what's up, Sherry?
Good to see you. And so, Sherry, you popping in. We're talking about the domesticated man, and Tasha just gave her definition of what a domesticated man is. And a man that's been trained and broken in, and all his habits broken. I guess things that he learned the good things right from a previous relationship. He ain't doing that stuff no more, right?
Right.
DJ says it means that he's out of the game. That a domesticated man is somebody that's out of the game. And Lisa says means his family is important and priority, and his home and stability. Okay. Anybody else? What do you get? We got a couple in Berto. And Berto, what do you think when you hear the term domesticated man? What does that say to you?
I'll say this: a lot of words and communication that we used to use, we don't use anymore, and we like to place different meanings to different words.
Okay.
So I would say that there are a lot of domesticated men, but I don't think it's a thing of training or enforcing anything. I think it's more of a thing of a man understanding what's going on in his relationship, in his household, and where he stands when it comes to responsibility, where he stands when it comes to his relationship with his children. Don't have a lot of them out there. I mean, I don't know. I don't hang out like I used to, but at the end of the day, I think women would probably appreciate that. And I don't know. Most people don't like labels, but I don't think anybody can be mad if you put that label on them. Nobody doesn't like a compliment, right? And also nobody doesn't like to be able to say, I understand everything that's going on in my house, or I contribute to everything that's going on in my house. So I think that it is existent in today, but I just think it's a different label. Some men would take it as an insult. I do like the way Mac described it. Miss T, I like the way that she put it out there, what it meant to her. And nobody should really be offended, because even at the end of her statement, it went from maybe an insult to a very positive thing. But I think that I'm in lines with what she said, but just I would take off that front part,
Okay. Okay.
No woman would
I,
like to say that she was trained. So I don't think any man would, but there are domesticated men. So I will agree to that.
There
I,
are less feral women, so there you go. How
I
about
agree.
that?
I agree.
I love that. I love that.
It's not our grandpa's game anymore, right? Where you used to get married, stay married for 40 years. Now you get married, and then you wake up one day, you go to church or a strip club, and you say, "I don't love you anymore," and that person's with somebody else, right? So,
I
and it
like
goes both
that. I
ways.
like that. And I love that you guys are talking about all of the positives, connotations of it. And I'll share a few more. Lisa says it's a mature man. So for her, when she think about a domesticated man, it's a mature man. But clearly, there are some negative connotations to a domesticated man because this is where the real estate inside said wear skirts sometimes. LOL, just kidding. Has matured to where he understands the need to help around the house. So he's getting very specific about that. And Miss Sharetta says, I think it's a man that has prioritized his home and his family. Anybody disagree with any of this?
I'm not gonna say I
Brother Ken.
disagree. I would say this about the label, and I'm going back old school. I think the label domesticated man is the new word for henpecked man. Y'all remember when you said a man was henpecked years ago? That was taken as a negative. So I think the new term domesticated is somewhat similar, but I think it has a different meaning because the gender roles have changed now as well. So it's
Absolutely.
not looked at such more as a negative. I don't have a problem with the term domesticated man because again, as long as that man is he in his relationship, he in tune with his queen, hey, it is what it is. So I don't look at it as a negative. I just think it's that's some of the what relationships are at this point. So
Okay. So as we get into this, I am going to share where in many ways does has a negative connotation, but I certainly want to make sure I get the views in here. Sharetta says a man that's prioritized his home and his family. DJ says it's a married or settled down man. Let's not overthink this, guys. The comments are coming in hot and heavy. Miss Candace,
hey, what's
going
up?
on?
What's
How
up,
you doing?
cousin?
From the Candace shop. And Lisa says she disagreed with trained because if you can train a man, he ain't a man.
Okay, well, let me clarify this because everybody keeps getting hung up on train. What I find interesting when everybody keeps pointing out with the domesticated man, they keep saying that it has something to do with someone that's in a relationship, in tune with his queen, or prioritizes his family. Is that not still some training that is done by the woman to make him a partner? There are still areas, behaviors, and different things that she does enforce, that she does instill in him subconsciously. You may not know it, may not want to acknowledge it, but it is some sort of training.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
I
I
like
think
that. Go
I
ahead,
think of
sis.
I think of a domesticated man. I agree with Tasha. Kind of like does things routinely.
Okay. So the real saying says basically a house husband.
I don't know about all that, but okay.
Which I kind of agree with that definition too of a house husband because I consider myself that. I did all of the traditional roles in my marriage that you normally would think a woman would do. What's going on, Diera? I hope I'm pronouncing
What's
that
up,
right.
De'Ara? How you doing,
How you
brother?
doing? Good to have you, my brother. And Lisa said he has to want to, and that's key. When I was married, I was a house husband, no doubt about it. Now I worked, of course, too, but I did the primary duties of the cooking, the cleaning, the shopping, the ironing, the sewing. I did all of that, you know. I'm looking at Berto's face. We
No,
really
I'm looking at Miss Lady over here, and she's
giggling, boy.
okay,
She got the
okay.
giggles.
because they have history. They have, and obviously Freddie and we've
Okay.
had lunch too.
Right. Yeah,
So,
I did that.
well, obviously, we've talked a lot about your past history, and that's something she didn't know about. That's making her giggle here.
Okay,
No,
okay.
I'm just saying that when you're listing everything that you do, I'm looking at Bertho like, huh? Okay.
Oh,
Cleaning.
I really did it all.
Yeah,
And so yes,
and I can
Candace.
attest to your food being really good.
But
I've
let
had
me
that
ask
lunch.
let me ask you this though. You did it because you wanted to do it, right?
That's where again it was my choice.
Right. It was your choice.
And in this instance, I felt like I was better at it. And me and my sister had a conversation just even recently about household duties and responsibilities, who runs the house, and so, but you also guys talk about how we're not in the antiquated way now. We're in new relationships, and so it's not necessarily the man running the house. Now I did, but full disclosure, anybody who knows me, I'm a Neanderthal and I ran my house. You know what I'm saying? I am the boss, the king, the sovereign lord, and everything else. So that, now having said that, I did all of the so-called domestic duties, that pretty much went into what you would normally expect. So a couple of quick comments. Real Estate Insider says some men are more domesticated than some women, especially these new age women. And I could not agree more, because that's why I'm going to go next to it. Why is there a need for it? So I'm coming right there, Real Estate Insider, because I agree. And I was better at it than my wife was. DJ says, well, if that's the case, Tasha, he's an unhappy man.
He might
So,
be.
so I enjoy doing all those things, but I want to go to the point that the Real Estate Insider brought up, that why do we even need a domesticated man? And as you think about this, I asked the question one time about dating in 2023 in this society, and was cooking in particular as important as it used to be? And I remember when I asked that question, for a lot of my panel, not really. People eat out more. So now when I want to extend that in terms of the domesticated duties, why do we even need a domesticated man? Is there a need for a domesticated man in today's dating or relationship society? Because to the real estate insider's point, some men are more domesticated than women. And so is that okay? Is there still a need for a domesticated man?
Yeah, I can't deal with a man that ain't domesticated. You definitely got to know how to cook, because if I get sick, what I'm gonna do?
Very, very good point. Very good point. What do you guys
I
think?
think I think this is a question that the women need to really can answer. I can be honest with you. Yeah, I think you, Leah, we did discuss this on another show, Leah. And I'll be honest with you, as a man, I can cook, clean, wash clothes. I can do all that stuff for myself. So I don't technically need or are looking for a woman to be the typical what we think women should do. So I think as a man, you should be able to take care for yourself at the end of the day, because you just never know what can happen, in my opinion.
Okay. Before we go any further, Diera says, in my particular circle of influence, being a domestic man has a negative connotation. It means he's broken in some aspect.
I don't know what. Okay.
I
don't know about being broken. That don't make sense to me.
Okay.
Okay.
And I can kind of see where that is true too, because I can see when you normally see a man, they think, oh, he's pussy whipped. You know what I'm saying? Or she got him in here cooking and cleaning. I've often said, Tasha knows this about me, I'm not going to no mall and holding your purse. Fuck that.
Oh, that's totally different. Yo, I ain't doing it.
No. And I only bring that up even in the sense that there's some things that, because the connotation behind it is she got his nose wide open, So I agree with Diera's point that, and then I've seen men, I'm to his point, that I do believe are broken. That is a difference to me than seeing a man that's domesticated doing so-called domesticated things than a man being trained and being broken and retrained. And I do see there are a lot of headstrong women, and from what I've seen, that they take a lot of pride in breaking men in that way. And so for me, that is a negative aspect of it, not to mention the fact that, look, let's just call a spade, what the TFG said. A lot of these nasty, no good bitches out here, they can't cook and they can't clean.
Here we go. We 20 minutes in. It's about to go
No,
down now.
I'm just, I'm just really saying, is that not true?
Well, before we go further, let me ask this, because I'm listening to a lot of what you're saying. And when we say domesticated man, because it has such a, to me, the word sounds very rich, right? So are you even using the right word? Because you just mentioned that a man is broken. So wouldn't we call that man fragile? We would call a woman fragile if you said she was broken and she's looking for another relationship. So why doesn't it apply to the man? And then also you said, I'm not going to utter that word from our wife, but what we say that that other guy was whipped, he still wouldn't be a domesticated man, because when you listen to that word domesticated, and Freddie, when you explained it, how you were domesticated, it sounds like you had a lot of skill, but in order to have a lot of skill, in order to be a champion, don't you have to have a lot of control? And you're not giving it up for anybody else. If you have that kind of control, you're domesticated, you're disciplined. So are we talking about words, or are we really talking about how men are, how that word domesticated does apply to a broken man? I'm just putting it out there and trying to be devil's advocate.
No, I love it. So to answer that, I think it's generational, though. I think it's generational. So for me, I'm 55 years old and I never remarried, because what I'm looking for in a wife, I would still do the same thing today. I have no issues whatsoever cooking, cleaning, shopping, I actually enjoy those things. But I think for today's relationships, yeah, I think it's viewed very, very differently, and then I think you do have a lot of women who now, because they are in the workforce and they out there grinding and getting the cheese and things like that, they're not willing to go back to that place of saying, you're not going to have me in there cooking. You better cook your damn self and all this kind of stuff. So I think it's generational from what I could see, and a lot of it's affected by a variety of things. Lisa says in today's economy, we need 2 incomes to survive with the family. That's very true. But that goes to what I asked about, is cooking an important aspect of it, and doing the domestic duties. The Master Prophet says they don't even want to cook no more. So it just, a lot of it, I think, is generational. Sharetta says, I think men need to have domestic skills, but everything should be balanced to make a household successful. And I agree with that.
She just hit it out the park with that. I agree with that totally.
Well, I agree with that 1,000%. And that sounds great to say that,
Right.
that they should have domestic skills and it should be balanced.
But we know that they really.
This is where I'm gonna go here with that, Sharetta, because when you look at TFG's his and hers relationship perspectives, you look at your TikToks and stuff like that. Women aren't saying that, Sharetta. They're not asking for that balance. What they're saying is, what's mine is mine, and what yours is mine too. They're saying that a man is supposed to take on the full brunt of the financial aspects, and they should be able to go out and get their hair, nails, and everything done. So where's that balance that you're saying? Because again, I'm old school.
You're right.
So that sounds great, and I wish it really was that way. And I do think men need to have domestic skills, because just like women, probably these new guys out here too, you're right, they don't cook. And y'all know I'm famously talk about hygiene. Both men and women out here, these are some nasty fucking people walking around out here. The way they keep their houses, the way they keep their bodies, the way they smell. And so I don't even know who is dirtier, because they both smelling the funk from each other, and none of them is cleaning up.
Boy, here we go.
Mattresses on the floor and shit like that. So I don't know if anybody is cleaning. And I even see TikTok videos where the guy standing there, he think because he's got a wife beater on, whipping up some fucking noodles and stuff. I'm not talking about that.
I think a lot of it got to do with, because I'm old school, of your upbringing. Because in our household, we didn't have like girls only in the kitchen. I had to take garbage out and everything. Anything boys had to do, I had to do it too. So, and anything women had to do, you had to do it too. So I think it got a lot to do with that too.
Okay. So let me ask you a question, sis, and put you on the spot a little bit. In your household, who does the bulk of the cooking, cleaning, shopping, and domestic duties?
Well, we even it out because my husband does most of the cooking. And not that
Okay.
I can cook, it's times I cook, but most of the time he does all the cooking. I do most of the cleaning, and we split it up with the cleaning. So
Okay.
he gotta be on handy for me. You ain't gonna be not knowing how to cook. And like you said, just no noodles and shit. When I get sick, I want real food.
Okay. Would you consider him domesticated, or would you say that you've trained and broken him?
I would consider him domesticated because these are things he knew how to do, before I met him.
Okay.
Because he can sew, he can do anything I can do, he can do it.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. I got you.
Would you consider him a champion?
Wait, what about the last? Is he broken? Would you say your husband is broken, Sherry?
Uh-uh.
I don't think any woman would honestly say that though about their husband. I don't think, even if they were, I don't think that any woman would actually admit that.
Tasha, you don't know
Be
me. I
surprised.
tell you they
No,
broken.
Sherry. I don't
I
think
said
you
You'd be surprised.
Trust me.
I think Sherry would. As long as I've been knowing her, I think Sherry would be honest about that.
I'm telling you.
Okay, so this is my sister. So I'll say this. I believe she's going to speak her mind. Now, whether or not I agree with what she says, no. No. At the risk of kind
Lee,
of,
I'm like
do
your
that.
sister.
huh?
I'm
you say?
old school.
Oh, she's
You said what?
definitely old school, and Sherry's going to speak her mind, no doubt about it. Now, do I think? Let me say this, because I'm not going to say what you thought I was going to say.
Yeah, okay.
But my thing is, Sherry is one of the reasons why I would never date women from New York. This is me.
Please,
I do
But
not.
she
I do not
sneaking,
like
she
women
getting
from
on
New
in the
York.
camera down there, boy.
This
She
is
keep
a
on
New
coming
Yorker.
in.
Now, this is a New
We
Yorker,
see you.
and I love me some Amia. We work together and everything. The headstrong attitudes. So this is where I was going with this, is because I think Sherry breaks men. That whole New York mentality, and the demanding style. I like more Southern women. So to your point, Tasha, I don't think Sherry would. She doesn't see it that way. But I've seen her not just even with her husband, but with her boyfriends. And these are some broken motherfuckers that's pretty much under her thumb, if you ask me. But I'm just saying, Jada Pinkett, I don't think even she would say will, but again, I think so there is a negative connotation to domestic, because you can kind of declaw somebody, and I think that happens as well too. But anyway, that's just my take.
Well,
no,
brother,
Lee, I can't
Go ahead.
sit here and let you talk about New York just like that. No way. I am like 100%. You already know, New York, Brooklyn bred. We've had many a lunch conversations, but I am old school. Like, I serve my husband his food, I wash his clothes, I clean the house, I cook on occasion, but it's not a night that he's gonna go without eating. And so, but I am like, I don't want to say, I hate that word strong. I can't stand that word, but I am independent, and I am like, I will hold him down, but I will also do my own stuff. So when you say like a more Southern woman, like, what do you mean by that? And how you say your sister breaks her men, like what do you mean? Like, do you mean like somebody who has like a good bedside manner in a relationship, like not all forceful? Because I have seen women of all nationalities and lived in different places that come mad reckless to their man, so verbally and physically. So break this down for me.
So from my experience, and of course, I got sisters and nieces and whatnot, love them to death. You couldn't pay me to be with them. the mouth, the attitude, the headstrongness of them. For me, I don't find it attractive, you know.
Mm.
So for me, what I like in Southern women, I like more of a demure, you know, feminine style, and they're a little more harder edge when I see the women in New York, from my experience. And
Wow.
so even with my sister, you know, my sister is a carbon copy of me, you know.
Oh.
And so while that makes for great sibling relationships, it makes for great friendships, but for me, you know, in terms of being involved with them, no way.
Wow.
No way, you know.
I feel the same way. Cause see, I feel like I'm gonna condition my man how I want him to be. For me. For me.
Okay.
And
And
I'm not knocking that.
and the thing is that I was listening to you, sister, and you know, I see a lot of women do that. Well, see, I like the opposite of things. No, my husband's service, he fixed my plate. He cooks, he bring it to me, because that's how I conditioned him to be. But I wouldn't say he's soft for doing that, you know, so to speak.
And I'm glad she's expressing it that way. And De'Ara, you're right. That's a great word. That dominant spirit, you know, that I and that all of my sisters, all of my nieces, even when I go and out, even some of her friends, and you know, and that's what I see. So for me, that's always been like a turnoff. And although I'm not against, you know, me bringing food to a woman, again, I did the cooking and all that kind of stuff. It's just that headstrong. It's a masculine energy that I get from women from New York that has turned me off. You know,
Wow.
so for me, yeah, I've always felt that way. Lisa says a lot of attitude in men and women is being raised in broken families. You learn to fight to survive, hence the rough edge. Absolutely. And so Sherry and I grew up in the same household, and you know, we like different things. You know, all of my sisters, except for one, has that dominant headstrongness about them. I have one sister that was whisked away down south when she was 17, and thank God she got a husband that she's more southern style. But for the rest of them, I love them to death. Ain't no way.
But see,
But
for the
Lee, here's the thing. If your sister says she conditions her man to be the way that she wants him to be, but if he's willing to do what his wife wants him to do, this is not his side chick. This is not his girlfriend. This is his wife. So if he's doing what she asks him to do, like serving her plate and cooking the food, then why is that a problem? Like that's your man. It's
So for
serving.
me, it's not a problem at all, because I don't have to live with it. But there's a difference between willing and it being demanded. And if he doesn't succumb to it, Sherry, what happens if he says no? I'm not cooking for you.
he ain't gonna be saying no. You gonna cook?
No. So I want the audience to hear this, because you're portraying it as if he's some willing participant when he's more held captive audience to this type of shit.
No, he know this is. He know that we gotta eat. This is gonna be done. You know, you mostly do the cooking, so I'm gonna look for you to cook.
That's not what I asked. That's not what I asked. What I asked is if he refuses to do the cooking, let's say if he said, "Well, I'm tired of doing the cooking and I'm not going to run to the store," what happens?
Oh, then it's gonna be a problem. I don't know. It's gonna be a whole lot of. It's gonna be.
What does that mean? It's gonna be a problem.
It's gonna be furniture moving and everything.
Yeah.
else.
What does?
You're not gonna be.
See. I'm glad. Can I say?
But here's the thing.
Can I say this real quick?
He's a grown man. He can leave.
Can I say something real quick?
He doesn't have to do it.
Tell him, sis.
I'm glad. Kenny, go ahead.
Can I
get it? Go ahead, Kenny.
I just want to say this real quick. This conversation is really, really interesting on the double standard we see. Is if a man was saying what Sherry was saying about his wife, we would be considered controlling and abusive. But if a woman does it, it's looked at totally different. And I'm not throwing shade at Sherry. Let me say this first of all. I'm just saying the double standard when you think about this whole domestic
listen,
roles and gender.
You hear him? I wouldn't have none of my brothers that not one of them, because let me ask this question, brother. If you your girl or your wife, and she's telling you she ain't I ain't gonna be cooking at all, what would you do?
Well, she would never
Uh,
even she would never even make it to be a girlfriend or a wife without the, because again, I'm gonna discover all that on the front end. If we just fucking, I could care less whether she could pop popcorn, you know,
No, but I'm talking
because
about
again, I can cook for myself. The moment it starts getting into something serious, I wouldn't even consider a woman if she couldn't cook, if she couldn't clean, even though I might be doing the most of it. But you're not going to move in with me and be nasty and incapable of doing these things.
no, but you don't understand what I'm asking. I'm talking about after she done got in, she the girlfriend now, she the live-in wife or whatever. And she after she get in good, she say, "Oh well, I'm tired. I ain't gonna be doing that shit right now no more."
So you're proposing something that's just not possible because again, no, and because again, no, and I'm the furthest thing from violence, but it would never get to that place because again, you're not going to get to that point of being that if you aren't already doing that from the beginning. I already know how to cook and take care of myself.
I
So
know
you're
that.
not so you're not even going to get to a place where we can get comfortable unless you've already shown me you can do those things.
That's what she's saying. What if she sent her representative for like the first 90 days and then you like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to make her my woman. And then when she's your woman, then she's like, nah, you cook, know how to cook. So then she's like, no,
that's an easy fix. So again, yeah, I would have to let her go. No violence, no nothing like that or anything like that. But yeah, I'd pretty much have to let her go because again, even though I don't have a problem doing those things, my thing is you have to have those skills from the outset. You have to show that from the outset that you're not only capable of doing that, that you're willing to do that. And from the very beginning, now Charles is saying cheat. Well, I'm going to cheat no matter what. So she can be the greatest woman on the planet. I'm still going to fuck on the side. That part goes without saying, but she won't know that. You don't shit where you eat. So I wouldn't put her in that position, but
okay, well, Charles ain't saying nothing because cheese can go both ways. So,
well, my views on that. Just don't get caught. Don't bring me nothing and fuck somebody at my level. As long as we adhere to those rules, then we good.
Kenny, you are I don't mind that. About the double standard. You are absolutely right, because if we did hear a man talking like that, like, oh, if she doesn't cook the food, there's gonna be some furniture shaking. You are absolutely correct, and I do not get down with double standards at all. So you are correct. We would be like, dang, he is mad controlling. You are correct.
Lisa says no one wants a woman that's on the couch all day and vice versa. I absolutely agree with that view 100%, Miss Lisa. There was a question too that before I move on to another part of this, and I'm gonna see if I can find it because it asked a question about it interjected race into it, and I wanted to ask that. Do you guys think white men are more domesticated than black men? And I love the question because when you start thinking about interracial relationships and maybe why some sisters go to white men, do you think white men are more domesticated than black men? Anybody?
I'm going to say on TV, they are, but the guys I work with in real life,
okay,
they're drinking that Mountain Dew. They're bungee jumping. They're doing camping, whatever they want to do. No, on TV when you watch Everybody Loves Raymond, yeah.
Okay.
Real life, not to me. Not the ones I've worked.
Lisa
with.
says she would have to say yes. I'm gonna ask my resident zebra, and I mean this with so much love.
Oh damn!
My father is a black man. Thank you very much.
She knows I mean that with love. She knows I mean that with love. Tasha Mack is biracial.
Yeah.
Which is a nice way to say it. But more importantly, you've dated white men.
Mm-hmm.
You dated white men as well. So for you, Miss Lisa said that she's dated both as well. And she says, yes, she would say white man is more domesticated. What's your take on this?
You know something? In this case, I'm not even going to say it's a race thing. Because honestly, it just depends on the person and how they're raised. Based on the men that I've dated in all groups, because I'm like the United Nations, I do not discriminate over here, okay? It's really 50-50. And it just depends on who raised them, the household, who was doing like most of the cooking and cleaning. Because there's, like I've dated one, like one particular guy. His mom was a stay-at-home mom. She didn't work. She did everything in the house. So he was absolutely feral. I would say he was feral. Then there's others that I've dated, that I was in a long-term relationship with. No, he did do a lot. He did do and if we're gonna stick to what we've defined as domesticated here, like the household duties and the household chores, because I think that's what we've kind of focused on. Yeah, no, like he helped. So I think it just is more like an age thing.
Okay. Miss Lisa says black men, I think, are more strong-willed, so she thinks so. Now Sharetta says no. She says, I actually think they are way less domesticated than black men. I'd love to hear your reasons why, Miss Sharetta. Why do you think, white men used to be are way less domesticated than black men? I'd love to hear that. But I didn't want to leave without hearing some comments on that. Again, I'm a man, so I don't know,
Right. That's hard to answer.
I don't know why. I could speculate, and I've heard what some sisters say, and I hear some of the same reasons black women go to white men as some of the same reasons black men go to white women. A lot of it, they talk about how they're treated and attitude and things of that nature. You hear a lot of black men talk about how white women are more docile. Now, does that translate to I can get away with more shit because a black woman is going to hold me more accountable? I don't know. And then for the sisters that are going to white men, some of them say because he treats me better. To Lisa's point, the strong masculine energy, the macho that black men give off, for some, is that a turnoff for some sisters? And they're looking for somebody that's a little bit more domesticated. I don't know. So I don't know. That's another question, to think about. Charles says, ooh, white women, no cornflakes for me. My brother,
cancel, block him, take his phone.
Brother, if you don't know, look, I love me some sisters, but white women got some good pussy too, and their head game is magnificent. So don't knock them.
Oh, here we go.
See, I don't date outside my race, so I wouldn't even know.
I'm just saying, All right, let's go to another aspect of this though, because I do want to ask this question: do you guys think being domesticated is inherent or is it learned? We talked about training somebody, breaking somebody. Do you think these types of characteristics are inherently in someone, or can that person be trained, or is it learned behavior? What do you think?
Learned.
Expound a little bit, Berto.
I say learned because at the beginning of the day, we're all clay, right? We all have an idea of what we want to do, what we want to be. More times than not, it doesn't work out that way. But if we work towards it, we can become that. And if somebody's willing to mentor or help, then we can have a better shot at it. Any behavior you have, it's just like when you talk about racism, nobody born hating another race. You actually have to teach that aspect. And that goes for anything. Nobody becomes the greatest football player in the world. You have to train, study criminals. If we want to take it there, there's good ones and there's bad ones. If you look at it, there's some criminals that never get caught. But at the end of the day, nobody woke up and said, I'm going to be the best criminal that walks the earth. So I would say that any behavior, any path, any channel somebody takes, somebody either was trained or they learned that behavior. You agree?
I like your take. I'm gonna hold my thought. Okay. Miss Soretta, welcome for joining the show. While I've got you here, I want to hear your explanation on.
That's why I came up. See, there are certain perks to being a part of TFG. So if y'all not a part of TFG, get in TFG, because if you see a show and you want to make something, you want to make a comment, and it's gonna take you a long time to type. If you a part of TFG, you can just hop on in the show.
Hop in and
So
pop
here
out.
I am.
That's right.
So to answer your question, the reason why I personally feel that white men are way more domesticated than black men is because basically it kind of piggybacks off what Tasha said about how they were raised. And I think societally, more of them were able to be raised with a stay-at-home mom than us.
Ooh.
And so if they were raised with a stay-at-home mom and they saw that women took care of all of the household duties, women did all the cooking and they did all the cleaning and they did all the laundry and they did, making plates and running kids from here to there and soccer moms and PTA moms, then they're going to expect that their significant other is going to do that as well. Whereas a lot of melanated people, our mamas had to go to work and our daddies went to work. So you might see daddy putting a load of laundry in, or you might see daddy cooking and mama cleaning, or you know what I mean? So I think it really does have a lot to do with how they're raised. But I think white men would be less domesticated than black men simply because they probably saw those patterns of the woman in the relationship doing all of the domestic duties versus the men. Like they daddies might have been out there mowing the grass and, working on cars and fixing stuff, that kind of stuff. But when it came to the cooking and the cleaning and the raising of the children, that was all to their moms. And so that's why I personally feel like white men would be more domesticated and way more domesticated than black men, because most likely a lot more of their moms were able to be stay-at-home moms versus the black men moms. They had to go to work.
Very good point. You make some very good points. I'm gonna play a little devil advocate here, though, with that point of view. So
I expected you to.
So let's take the Nick Cannon scenario. When you got the Nick Cannons of the world out there who are single-handedly populating, the earth with all these babies, and for a lot of my brothers out there who are just spread their seed around. And so these kids are growing up in households with no male figures around. And they're seeing mamas.
Nick didn't grow up in a household with no male figures around.
Who didn't? No. I use him only to make that point.
Okay.
To make that point. But what about...
Can I interject into your point real quick? Sure. Mm-hmm. I have a problem with people that bring up Nick Cannon because he got 12 kids. When you got sister wives, dude, they got 19. You got the other people, the ones that homeschooled out, they got 19, 20 kids. Like, we have all these examples of these people having way more children than what he does. But I guess because he's not married, but the sister wives dude was married to 4 women.
Okay.
With 19 kids. You see what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like we use him as an example, but I got an uncle that got 17.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I get
that part of it.
Point taken there. His name was only brought up to highlight how there are men making babies and they're not in the households raising these babies. But now, what I think of him personally, I have no respect for him. But I hold him with the same disdain as I hold a nasty, filthy, no good bitch laying up getting pregnant on welfare with a bunch of kids. They're all in the same bucket. So for me, that's how I feel. But that's a whole nother conversation. But what I was saying is, when you got these kids now, to the point you made about being exposed to watching mothers do all of these domesticated things. So I wanted to throw a little something in there. So when you got these households where these kids are growing up, where they are watching mothers, not fathers, do these things, do you think that accounts for the effeminization of men? A black man in particular?
No, what I think accounts to, or what can account to the effemination of black men in particular, is no black men, period, in his as a representative in his life. I think that in itself, if he had a daddy and a mama and they both work, then...
So you think that's a bigger contributor than the boys raised in the homes watching the women do all of these things.
Right. Because I feel like they're going to feel that those things, especially if they have a father that they look up to, they're going to think that the domestic duties are beneath them.
Really? Really? Interesting take.
Because they think that women are the weaker sex.
Okay.
And so they're going to feel like those are duties for the weaker people. And it's more manly, it's more macho, it's more, to go and work on a car, or, you know what I mean? Versus to change your baby's diaper or to cook.
I'm going to definitely have to do a show on this because you bring up so many, because I don't want to veer from that. But, I'm not even going to go on my view on that. But I wanted to ask you while I had the benefit of having the great Sharetta pop in on us. Appreciate you, sweetheart. Thank you.
All right. I'm going back to watching. Y'all have fun.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Light on your view. I love it. Back to whether it's inherited or not. DJ say it's inherited. Latinas and some white women are taught that. Let's be real and stop giving interview answers. We repeat what we see growing up. Very interesting take. Lamb Liberty says Black men's domestication is in a battle with how our uncles and cousins teach us how to be men, i.e. being in charge and making no money, demanding respect. And I would imagine Lisa was saying ditto to Sharetta's points. So
that's real
points.
Talk.
All good points there. All good points. And again, she doubled down. I agree with Mrs. Lee. Go ahead, Miss Lee. That's what I say. All these views are welcome. Now, anybody else want to comment on whether we think that this is learned behavior or inherent behavior? What do you think? Anybody?
I say it's learned behavior, because even to DJ's point, he says it in there that with other cultures, these are things that they are taught by seeing and duplicating and being instilled and being reinforced and saying, this is what you're supposed to do. These are your duties. So it is taught. Because think about it. You have some people who don't know that they're living in a way that may not be deemed acceptable, because to them it's just normal. It's natural because they don't know any better. Yeah. So it isn't something that's just inherent that you just know. I don't think it's that.
Okay. Anybody else want to share their views? Lisa says, I raised all my sisters and brothers because my mother was no good. So I definitely learned.
I agree. I would say learned behavior.
Yeah, right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I would agree with what Berto. I would agree with what Berto and Tasha. I am not going to add too much to it. They both hit the key points. I think it's definitely learned behavior. I think a lot of what we do when it comes to relationships and any other thing, being domesticated or non-domesticated, is really based on learned behavior, in my opinion.
Okay, fantastic. Hey, we just hit 100 subscribers, I'm told. So fantastic. I love it. The show is growing by leaps and bounds. I appreciate that. I too think domesticated. I'm coming back to you, Mr. Berto. I do think learned behavior. I do think domesticatedness of men in particular is learned behavior. I really do. Especially when I look in light of the point that I was making, that you have a lot of men, especially Black men, are growing up in households where, they aren't picking up these habits because parenting, we all know that grandmamas now are in their 30s or 40s. There are so many fragmented single households out there. A lot of men are learning their values from, somebody mentioned reality TV, I think, or something. They're learning these things from TV. So I think to get to a place where a man becomes domesticated, and in this case, talking about the cooking, the cleaning, doing the duties, it does have to be learned. Now, whether it's under the brutal thumb of a Sherry or whether it's from somebody who wants to do these things, it still is learned behavior. Sis, I love you. Sis, I love you. Alberto, you had another thought?
Sure, Lee. Here's my question to you because of your experience, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, I grew up with a lot of guys. I grew up with about maybe 12 guys. Okay, so when it comes to talking about women, I can't talk about women too much, but when it comes to talking about men, I grew up in a community of men, and men do stupid things sometimes for stupid reasons. So if a man is domesticated, if you will, or fragile or broken, do you think a relationship forces that behavior, or do you think, from your experience, because you said you have these talents, right? That you mentioned earlier in the show. So do you think a relationship forces these talents to come to the fore and impacts the relationship, or you think it's just like you mentioned, you're programmed, so you just do it out of programming anyway, and use your personal experience as a stepping stone to answer that?
Okay. For me, I think any relationships I've been in, it's enhanced it. And that's because I look for a certain type to be in a relationship with. Again, if it's just somebody I'm kicking it with, then that's not even a factor, into the equation. But anybody that I'm seriously consider being in a relationship with, I'm picking them because they have those same qualities. And I share that with them. I like the idea of knowing that when I go visit her, her place is always clean. She's always cleaning up. I like when she comes to visit me, I watch for those little things that after we've eaten, before I can get the plate, she's already taken them to the kitchen. And without asking her, she's washing those things. I love that a woman will go in my bathroom and tell me that I'm nasty. And I'm a fucking clean person. And those are the things that jump out at me like that's when I know I gotta keep this person, because it's screaming to me this is a keeper, because I'm seeing all of those qualities in her, and it's attracting me even more so, because now I feel like if I get in a relationship with this person, we are going to have that shared responsibility. To Sherry's point, that if I do get sick, damn, she can take care of me, without me asking. So for me, it always enhances it. It's not even a factor if it's not somebody I'm seriously consider. And me being how I am, I know from the beginning whether or not that's a roller coaster ride or we riding, down the Nile River. I know when this ride is going to end because I'm already seeing those qualities in that woman for me. I hope I answered that.
That you did. My follow-up to that is, what if, I would hope that silly things don't happen in any relationship, but what if the person, you're head over heels and the person stops doing those things? What your reaction, and what do you think any normal person's reaction should be in that relationship? Because we've already established that the relationship brings those talents to the fore. What if the person got a year and a half, a beautiful year, you went to Spain, come back from Spain, and then he stopped doing that stuff? What happens, or what do you think should happen?
Well, for me, it would end. I'm a firm believer that you have, whatever you're doing.
I remember you're in love with this person.
When I'm so glad you said that.
Okay.
I have a saying, my head is much stronger than my heart.
Oh, okay.
And it always will be.
All
and
right.
it
That's
always
those
will
New York
be.
traits.
And I agree. I ended my marriage while I was still deeply in love with my wife. But in my head, she wanted something I could no longer provide. Now, I wasn't willing to sit around and twiddle my thumbs while she found that out. So I wanted to set her free. Another woman I loved just as much, even probably in some ways more, because by the time I came upon her, I had a different level of maturity in love, one of my exes, but she couldn't figure out if she wanted to fuck me or fuck her father. And as much as I was in love with this woman so deeply, my heart, she had everything in there. It took me years to break free from this woman, but I wouldn't let myself go back because my head is stronger than my heart. So to answer that question for real, I could love the shit out of a woman. But if I came back and once certain things are broken, that's just fundamental to me being happy, I can't stay. I've got to go. And I could love her. And I'm perfectly willing to live alone to stand on that principle. You know, for me, it works that way for me.
One more question.
One
One more question.
This
I
is
got
show.
wait. I have he's on a roll, and I'm asking him a good question. I would hope. You almost made me forget it.
Yeah.
This is our first argument. Okay, so now you said, okay, you walk away. Would that be your twofold? Would that be your advice to any guy that comes to you looking for some kind of mentorship in a relationship? And do you think that impacts the honesty or purity of the relationship? In other words, the relationship should have never started in the first place because the two people had two different motives.
Okay. That would be my advice to somebody, because I'm a firm believer that once a certain level of security is broken in a marriage, then I don't want to be an imposter in that marriage. And I don't think you should have to work that hard, you know. And in this example, if that person has been duped into believing you got one thing and it turns out you got the other, then why stay? So I would definitely encourage that person. If you ask me if I was mentoring them, look, you know, because what's going to foster in it that you're staying is resentment, and you're swimming upstream, because now all those things that you were accustomed to receiving, now that you have to beg, ask, plead, trick, all that to get somebody to do, is that worth it? So to me, marriage or serious relationship shouldn't be that hard. If you're not going to be my equally yoked partner walking down the road with me, then I don't want us pulling in opposite directions. That's not built to last anyway. Now, does that mean that it was built on a faulty foundation? I guess the answer would be yes to that, you know, because again, if we thought that this castle was built on a firm foundation and found out that termites was eating away at it the whole time, yeah, it's just not what we thought it was going to be. And I'm a firm believer in, you have every right to be at your happiest with somebody. And I see too many relationships where people stay for all of the wrong reasons. There's a kid involved. I like the idea of being married. The newer relationships, because they're relationship goals and people look at them on Facebook and think that looks great. At the end of the day, for me to be in a secure relationship, you know what I have to have? Fuck the world out there. I'm already get up every day prepared for what they're going to throw at me. I cannot have that level of distrust and discord in my home. And that's why I choose to be alone, because I could have somebody laying up in here, but if I got to sleep with one eye open and I don't trust this bitch, you know, and, you know, she got ulterior motives, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. So again, I want to squeeze in one more. You know, we've run a little bit over time, but I want to squeeze in one more. Great questions. You know, man, I hope you guys keep coming back for sure. Fantastic questions. But I got one more, and I touched on it a little bit, and I want you to give me your honest assessment. And I want to ask the women in particular this question, because I was once labeled a metrosexual because of all of the things I do and the way I keep my home. And, you know, I had a housewarming party one time, and, you know, one of my coworkers came in and she says, "Oh, you know, you're a metrosexual." And what the fuck you talking about? You know, but, you know, you know, so again, you know, in this instance, I want to ask you ladies in particular, to you women in particular, you know, your honest assessment. Do you want, in this day and age, you know, a metrosexual man, in that sense that he does all of those things, or are you more attracted? And be honest with me, seriously, be honest. Or are you more attracted to that guy that is the project, a little bit more rough around the edges, and you're okay doing all those other things? Because I believe a lot of women have that we always talk about men being Superman and wanting to save a hoe. I believe you got just as many super women out there wanting to save that guy, and they want to. And a lot of women like working on a broken project.
That's true.
You know, and like being in
That's
control. So I want to ask you, ladies. You know, what do you think?
Well, you
Tierra,
already,
thank you. I appreciate it, my brother. Come on back anytime. Go ahead, anybody.
well, you already know my take on it.
I
I
was
need a man. I need a man, brother, that could cook and do all the domestic things that I need him to be doing, and everything. You know, like I said, because if you can't be doing all these things, I wouldn't be. You wouldn't have been considered as no husband for me anyway. And as
Okay.
you see, I've been married almost October. I'll be married almost 34 years.
Okay. Now,
Nice.
do
I
you
would love to have you. I love to have your husband on with you, Sherry. I would love for him to come on.
with your views, sis, and your dominance, do you think that in any way is emasculating to your husband?
Obviously, he been with me almost 34
That's not what
years.
I asked. That's not
No.
what I asked.
No,
You don't think
Right.
that's emasculating?
no, I think he
Okay.
love it.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
Mm.
There you go.
Yep.
Miss Amia and Tasha, what do you have to say on this?
You could go, Tasha.
Okay. So for me, if we're gonna just strictly stick with the definition of how we've defined domesticated, just
Okay.
more of just a help around the house and different things like that, that's the bare minimum of being a person. So there is no, it's not even metrosexual versus feminization. That's the bare minimum. You're not allowed to be any lower than that. So you always have to do those things.
Okay. Okay. And so you don't feel like these things in any way emasculate or feminize a man?
No.
Okay. Okay. Miss Amia, bring us home.
Yeah, I mean, my husband is, I don't know, we just have like a good vibe. You know, you set the tone of what the things that you're gonna do in the home. I grew up watching my mom serve my dad, and my dad being a provider. So that's kind of like our roles here. But if there's something that needs to be done, we just do it. So I think that, like how you said, people get into relationships for the wrong reason. When I say my husband's domesticated, I mean, he cleans up. He sees, something needs to be clean, he does it. I see things that need to be clean, I do it. There's no set rules in the house, but I do serve him. Like, he doesn't wash any dishes or make any food or things like that. But if I asked him to, he would. So he's very considerate of me and my time. Like, don't cook anything tonight. Let's go ahead and go out. So I think you just have to be considerate of each other, and I'm kind of steering off, but I don't know if he's domesticated. I would say he is. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I love it. I think Miss Lisa is in agreement. She says, I want someone that wants to help, but he doesn't have to.
Right.
And she doesn't believe that emasculates a man. And I'm just glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear you guys articulate that, because I do consider myself a metrosexual.
Me too.
And it's great to hear that it's still appreciated. So I'm glad to hear that. And like I was answering Berto's questions, I wouldn't have it any other way, that this is who I am. This is what I like to do. But I definitely want somebody to match that energy. But here's the other part. I need to know that it's appreciated.
Oh, yeah.
I need to know that it's appreciated, because I know relationships. Berto, this one's a good one for you. I have a good friend right now, and he didn't set that tone in the beginning. You know how when you're trying to attract a woman and you go all out, and the spreading the blankets out and the picnics on the living room, and you whining and dining, taking them on trips, and baby, you ain't got to clean up, and so now when he got the woman and he wifed her, she doesn't clean, she doesn't cook, she doesn't do the domestic things. Now you're wondering, well, what happened? But you set that expectation.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't require those things. And now you're angry a lot of times because why does she do these things? That's not her fault. That's your fault.
Right.
That's your fault. And so that's my thing. I don't mind being a domesticated guy, but I need to know it's appreciated. I absolutely need to know it's appreciated. 820 management says I like a balance between the two. Absolutely. And Amia 822 was saying exactly what you were saying. So you was knocking it out the park with your comments. So Brother Kenny, you want to add anything to this part, because again, I do consider myself a metrosexual, and I don't think it emasculates men. I don't consider myself feminine in any way. I am a lesbian, but that's about it. Go ahead, Kenny.
Somebody got the clip from the last show. So did somebody clip it from the last show?
Can I
say, my thing is, go ahead, Sherry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kenny.
Go ahead, Sherry.
No, I was just
no, women's first. I don't want you to put me in the doghouse with your husband.
No, I was just about to say, the mother that me and Freddie was raised with, you understand? I seen her in her last relationship. I just, she did mostly everything, and I just was not being that person. You understand? I just thought, he didn't.
Oh, I thought you was going somewhere on the whole opposite end of that spectrum. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm just.
You seen her do everything and what?
I seen her do everything for her last relationship, like do all the cooking and while he just had his feet up doing nothing. Mm-hmm. And I just felt, I'm not being that. No.
Wow. So this show you how two people can grow up in the same household and see a situation completely different. Yes, my mother did all the cooking, but that was one henpecked son of a bitch. She ran that man off with nobody's business. She ruled with an iron fist. And maybe that's what made me truly not like New York women. My mother's from the South, but we grew up in New York all our life. But yeah, she did the cooking, but it came with a whole lot of goddamn fussing and unnecessary. That man was henpicked to death. He couldn't turn a corner without her saying, you don't go it that way, you do this way, And to this day, she's 87 years old and mean as a rattlesnake.
True, but that's why she did everything, and even though she was a fusser, that's why I guess that I got my fussing part from that. But
you've taken that from my mother, and again, and they say daughters marry men like that. You found you a good docile one, just like she did. That's living under your iron rule. DJ. Free Sherry's husband. This hand is for Kelly, and this one is for Sherry's husband.
That's hilarious. The DJ off the chain. That's hilarious.
He ain't lying, but he ain't lying. And I love me some Tony. But Tony, I love you, my brother, but ain't no way I can take that shit. Yeah. I'll get both of my hands around her fat neck and squeeze.
He like it, brother. You know that.
The only thing that I would like to add is I think we got so many labels about what's the metrosexual and all that, and it's cool. You just roll with, be who you are. And when we're talking about relationships, I look at it like this. Teamwork makes the dream work. Whatever works for your relationship, whatever you're looking for, the head coach, if you the head coach and you the head coach, she the assistant coach, y'all come together, y'all draw y'all plays up, y'all make it work for y'all, man. At the end of the day, don't worry about what the outside sources are saying about a man that you domesticated or the woman, this and that. Man, whatever works, man. Can we get away from all these labels? Just, let black love win at the end of the day. That's just my thought.
Well, Brother Ken, I want to say this. At the end of the day, I don't want this to come out wrong. I'm going to say the best I can. We didn't come up with all these labels. Like metrosexual.
No, I agree.
So with that said, when it comes to labels are for clothes, man. I agree with you 100%. Chasing labels. I mean, I'm interested, Lee, what was your response when your coworker told you were metrosexual? It sounded like you welcomed it, but at the end of the day, I mean, who are you to kind of decide what I am?
We were there.
Right. And that's what I wanted.
Right.
Yeah,
It threw me back a little bit because my only objection at the time was making sure this is Atlanta, and I was making sure that she wasn't trying to say that was something else, you know. So that was my thing. Like, whoa, what? That
okay.
I literally was. Well, whoa, what are you trying to say? But once she said, "Oh no, just the way you keep house and stuff," I wanted to make sure that it was understood in that moment. Yeah, I got some soaps and shit around my bathroom, but I like snatch, you know. So I wanted to make sure that just because we sitting around sipping out of Mikasa glasses and all this kind of shit, and my couch is nice and it smells good in here, I don't want you to think that when that door closed, I'm pinning some guy legs behind his ear. So I like pussy. I wanted that part to be clear.
Oh boy.
So it's not the crying game.
Absolutely. So I want to be clear on that. But as we close the show, Kenny, you close out on a very good note that for this topic, far as the domesticated man. Lisa says, I do love a good Southern woman. They don't take no shit from nobody, and neither do New York women. So
amen, Lisa.
Bravo. I knew you would appreciate that. You and Cherry. So bravo for women, absolutely. But at the end of the day, I love what Kenny said. At the end of the day, whatever we want to call ourselves. And I wanted to explore this topic because just like love and obey, when you hear that in a wedding ceremony, or being submissive, just like those aren't dirty words, and it depends on how it's perceived. The term domestic man, I want to normalize that. It's okay, fellas out there. You don't always have to put on the bravado. It's okay to cook and clean and do all of those things. You should know how to do these things. I truly think women would appreciate it, even if you don't have to do it. Pick up, it's time to pick it up a little bit and show that you can, because I do think it will make relationships a lot easier. We're not living in the 40s anymore. It does take multiple outcomes to run a household now, and women are just as much breadwinners, if not more, than men, and we owe it to them, for in a lot of ways, for a lot of the injustices that have been done to women. It is time we step it up and do a lot better. So I'm speaking to my brothers out there, white, black, and everything indifferent.
That's facts.
So whatever you want to call it, you know what I'm saying? It's okay. Take the label away from it, but pitch in. It's supposed to be a partnership. You should know how to do these things. It's okay to want to do these things. So that's my piece I want to say to that. So I appreciate everybody. Look, Berto, Amia, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you guys come back.
I hope y'all come back. I hope y'all come back.
I
sure.
hope we run y'all off.
Okay.
We'll be back.
So we appreciate you.
Good.
We appreciate you. And again, you guys have an open invitation any single time. So it's there. We love you guys. Thank you for the input. Brilliant additions to the show. And so for the rest of the fans that we missed you tonight, everybody enjoy the rest of their week. It's a holiday weekend coming. Sherry and I, we had our religious ceremony last night as Jehovah's Witnesses. They had the Lord's Passover meal last night, so we celebrated that. For many of you folks, this is Good Friday and Easter Sunday. Enjoy, be safe, whatever your religion is. I respect and welcome all of those, and if it makes you a better person, that's even better. So enjoy the rest of your week. God bless, be safe, and always keep it real.